started like any other day in the skies. The boarding process was calm, the flight attendants were smiling, and passengers were dragging their carry-ons down the narrow aisle, searching for their seat numbers. Among the passengers that morning was the Williams family, Jordan and Maya, and their two young daughters, Ava and Zoe. They were headed to Atlanta for a family reunion, something they'd been looking forward to for months, dressed in matching sweatshirts that said, Team Williams. The girls were giggling as they skipped ahead, their tiny backpacks bouncing with each step. They were one of the first families to board due to Maya's request for early boarding with children. Jordan carried a backpack stuffed with snacks and headphones while Maya clutched their boarding passes and a bag of coloring books. They were warm, excited, and respectful. Just a regular American family traveling together. Their assigned seats were row 12, Jordan and Ava by the window, and Maya and Zoe on the other side of the aisle. They settled in quickly, helping the girls with their seat belts and tucking bags beneath the seats. Everything was fine until she showed up. A tall woman in designer sunglasses and a cream-colored trench coat slowly made her way down the aisle. Her heels clicked against the floor with practiced precision. Her name was Margaret Delacourt, though nobody knew that yet. She was in her late 50s, with a polished look that screamed money. Every piece of her outfit had a logo. Even her suitcase wheels shimmered with gold accents. As she reached row 12, her face tensed. She paused for a moment, staring at the seats, and then at the family occupying them. Her assigned seat was 12C, right between Maya and Zoe. She glanced down at Maya. "Excuse me, I think there's a mistake," she said, her voice clipped and cold. "This can't be my seat." Maya looked up politely. "Oh, are you in 12C? "Yes, it's right here next to us." Margaret's eyes narrowed. "No, I mean, this can't be where I'm supposed to sit." Maya blinked. "I'm sorry. I don't sit here," Margaret said, gesturing vaguely toward them. Her voice laced with something that wasn't quite explicit, but didn't need to be. Jordan caught the tone from across the aisle. He stood up halfway. "Ma'am, is there an issue?" Margaret ignored him, flagging down a passing flight attendant with a snap of her fingers. "Excuse me, miss? There's been some kind of mix-up. I need to be reseated." Immediately, the young attendant smiled. "Let me check your boarding pass." She scanned it quickly. "Yes, ma'am, you're in 12C. Margaret leaned in. "That's the problem." The attendant glanced between the woman and the family. "I'm afraid that's your assigned seat, and this is a full flight. There may not be other options available." Margaret's voice dropped to a whisper, but loud enough for nearby passengers to hear. "I am not sitting next to them." A hush fell over the surrounding rows. Maya's face stiffened. She placed a protective hand over Zoe's arm, pulling her daughter a little closer. Jordan's expression shifted. "What exactly do you mean by them?" Margaret looked at him, then quickly looked away, as though just acknowledging him made her uncomfortable. "I paid for a premium seat. I won't be crowded between that. She said it without shame. The attendant's face went pale. "Ma'am, I'm going to ask you to lower your voice." "You don't understand," Margaret snapped. "This is unacceptable. I demand a different seat." A man 2 rows up stood. "You can take mine," he said, offering it like he was trying to end the tension. But before Margaret could respond, a calm, authoritative voice came from the cockpit. "Is there a problem here?" Captain Reed had stepped into the cabin. He was tall, mid-40s, with a quiet confidence and warm eyes. The kind of pilot who introduced himself before takeoff and walked through the cabin before every flight. The attendant nodded toward Margaret. "This passenger is refusing her assigned seat." Captain Reed raised an eyebrow. "Refusing, huh?" Margaret turned to him. "Captain, I'm just asking for a reasonable accommodation. I don't feel safe." "Unsafe? In what way?" "I feel out of place." The captain's eyes drifted toward the Williams family, who sat frozen. Ava clutched her coloring book. Zoe looked scared. He sighed. "Ma'am, I need to ask you a simple question. Are you refusing to sit in your assigned seat? Margaret straightened her coat. I'm not sitting there. That's final. There was a long pause. Then Captain Reed spoke firmly. Then you're not flying on this aircraft today. Margaret stared at the captain like she hadn't heard him correctly. I beg your pardon? She said, her tone shifting from entitled to outraged. Captain Reed didn't flinch. You heard me, ma'am. This is a commercial aircraft. You purchased a ticket like everyone else. And unless you're willing to take your seat, I'm afraid I'll have to ask you to leave the plane. You can't be serious, she hissed. I've flown with your airline for years. I'm a platinum member. I demand to speak to someone in charge. The captain folded his arms. That's me. Gasps rose from nearby passengers. A few had already pulled out their phones, recording quietly from behind headrests. The flight attendant stood frozen, glancing between the two of them. Maya sat still, her hand now tightly gripping Zoe's. Jordan was tense, his knuckles white as he clutched the armrest. He wanted to say something, but he didn't want to escalate. He'd seen too many situations like this end badly for people who looked like him. Margaret's eyes darted around the cabin, hoping someone would back her up. Instead, she was met with blank stares or subtle shakes of the head. Captain Reed took a small step forward. This plane won't leave the ground until this is resolved. If you're unwilling to sit in your assigned seat, we'll need to escort you off and rebook you on another flight. It's your choice. For a moment, it looked like she might comply. But then Margaret did what no one expected. She turned and marched toward the front of the plane, muttering under her breath about lawsuits and poor service. As the captain watched her go, the cabin remained silent. Then, a soft round of applause began. First from one passenger, then two, then a ripple of claps as the entire cabin acknowledged what had just happened. Not because they were happy to see someone removed, but because, for once, someone had stood up to it. To that ugliness. That casual cruelty disguised as discomfort. Maya blinked back tears. Jordan exhaled, shoulders finally relaxing. Captain Reed turned to them with a nod. Sorry you had to go through that, he said softly. Enjoy your flight. The girls smiled shyly as he returned to the cockpit. The rest of the boarding process resumed without incident. Margaret was escorted out quietly by airline staff. Her seat remained empty. As the plane took off, there was a strange calm in the air, like something heavy had lifted. Maya looked out the window. Jordan offered her his hand, and she took it without a word. Halfway through the flight, something unexpected happened. A man from first class walked down the aisle, stopping beside Maya's seat. Excuse me, he said gently. I saw everything earlier. That shouldn't have happened. I just wanted to say, thank you for staying calm. That was ugly. But you handled it with dignity. Maya smiled politely. We just want to travel like everyone else. He nodded. I'm a journalist. I work for a major outlet in New York. Would you be okay if I reached out later? I think people need to hear what happened. Jordan and Maya exchanged glances. We'll think about it, Jordan said. The man gave them a business card. No pressure. Just, the world needs more stories like yours. After he returned to his seat, Maya looked down at the card. It was real. Legit. Jordan whispered. I just hope this doesn't blow up. But it did. By the time the plane landed in Atlanta, someone had already posted a video of the incident on social media. The caption read, This woman refused to sit next to a black family. The pilot wasn't having it. Within hours, it had over 1 million views. Comment sections flooded with praise for Captain Reed, admiration for the family's composure, and disgust toward the behavior of the woman in the video, now known simply as Seat 12C. News outlets picked up the story quickly. The airline released a statement applauding the captain's professionalism and reiterating its commitment to inclusivity and respect for all passengers. They also issued a formal apology to the Williams family. But the real impact came in the days that followed. Jordan received a call from the airline offering them free flights for a year. Maya was contacted by local schools asking if she'd come speak about grace under pressure. Ava and Zoe were asked to appear on a children's program to talk about kindness. And then came the unexpected twist. A law firm in New York, one of the biggest, offered Jordan a partnership track interview. They'd seen how he held himself in that video, the way he didn't lose control, didn't escalate. They said they needed more voices like his in rooms where decisions were made. Jordan was stunned. "I was just trying not to get us in trouble," he said. "I never thought anyone would notice." Maya smiled. "People notice more than you think." It had been a week since the flight, and life for the Williams family hadn't returned to normal. If anything, it had been transformed. Reporters called. Invitations rolled in. But Maya and Jordan tried to stay grounded. They didn't want to turn the incident into fame. They just wanted the message to matter. Still, one call stood out. It came from a woman named Angela Price, the vice president of community engagement at a national civil rights organization. "I watched the video," she said. "Your family showed the kind of strength we try to teach in every school, every training, every speech. We'd love for you to come speak at our annual summit." Maya was hesitant. "I'm not a speaker. I'm a mom." Angela smiled through the phone. "Exactly. And the world needs to hear from moms like you." They agreed. A month later, Maya stood at a podium in Washington, D.C., with her daughters beside her and Jordan beaming from the audience. She spoke not as an activist or a celebrity, but as a woman who had simply wanted to take her children on vacation. "The seat on that plane wasn't just a seat," she told the crowd. "It was a place we were told we didn't belong. But we do. We all do." Applause erupted. Tears flowed. But behind the scenes, something else had been happening too. The woman, Margaret, the one who had refused to sit near them, had become the center of a firestorm. News outlets uncovered more footage, more complaints. This wasn't her first time causing a scene, and now the spotlight was unforgiving. Eventually, she released a statement. It was defensive at first, blaming woke culture, the airline, the family. But under mounting pressure, she issued a second apology. "I realize now that my actions hurt people. I let fear and bias get the best of me. I am deeply sorry." Some accepted it. Others didn't. Jordan read the statement and sighed. "I don't know if it's real, but I hope she means it." Maya didn't respond. She just closed her laptop and went to tuck Zoe in for bed. Later that night, Jordan stepped outside onto the porch. The air was cool, quiet. He thought about everything that had happened, how quickly things had shifted, from anger to exposure to opportunity. He wasn't used to being noticed, being seen. Not like this. Then the front door opened, and Maya joined him, wrapping a blanket around her shoulders. "You okay?" she asked. He nodded. "Just thinking." She smiled. "That's dangerous." He chuckled. "Do you think this will actually change anything?" Maya tilted her head. "Not everything, but maybe something. Maybe one person sees us differently now. Maybe a little girl out there saw Zoe and felt stronger. That's enough for me." Jordan looked at her. Really looked at her. "You were incredible. That day, every day." She leaned her head on his shoulder. "So were you." They sat there for a long time, watching the stars in silence, letting the moment breathe. The next morning, Jordan opened his inbox to find a message that made him freeze. Subject: "A seat at the table, if you're ready." It was from the White House, an invitation, not just to attend a roundtable on racial equity and public policy, but to participate, to help lead it. He reread it twice, then called Maya in. Her jaw dropped. "Jordan, this is real?" "I think it is." They sat there stunned, then slowly, cautiously smiled. This wasn't just a seat on a plane anymore. It was a seat at the table, one that mattered. Later that month, they flew to D.C. again. This time, they weren't just passengers, they were voices, advocates, Witnesses. During the meeting, Jordan listened as officials discussed policy, reform, training. Then they turned to him. "What do you think we're missing?" someone asked. Jordan looked around the room. Powerful faces, suits, titles. But he didn't flinch. "You're missing us," he said simply. "The families. The ones just trying to live, to raise good kids, to go on vacation without being made to feel like criminals. If you want real change, start by listening to the people in the aisle seats, not just the ones in the front row." Silence, then nods. He didn't change the world that day, but something shifted, and they knew it. A few weeks later, Maya was invited to join a panel on racial bias in schools. She spoke about empathy, about dignity, about what her daughters saw that day on the plane. "They learned that sometimes silence is permission," she said. "But they also learned that one voice, just one, can stop something before it becomes worse." She looked directly at the audience. "That boy, the one who shouted, 'Don't eat that,' in another story I read, he saved a life. Not because he was powerful, but because he spoke. We can all do that." When the panel ended, a teacher approached her. "I'm changing how I run my classroom," the woman said. "Thank you." Maya nodded. That's how it starts. Months passed. The story faded from headlines as stories do. But for the Williams family, its impact lingered in small, meaningful ways. People still recognized them in grocery stores and airports. Strangers approached them just to say thank you. Schools invited Maya to speak. Jordan was asked to mentor young fathers. Zoe started a school club called Voices That Matter. But they didn't let it define them. Life went on, messy, loud, full of homework, dance recitals, late bills, and burned dinners. Still, something had changed. Jordan noticed it at work when his boss pulled him aside. "You know," he said, "I watched that video. I think we've been underestimating your leadership. Let's fix that." He got a promotion. Maya felt it when she walked into the parent-teacher conference and saw that teachers no longer just saw her as another mom. They asked questions. They listened. Zoe felt it when her classmates voted her to speak at the end-of-year assembly. "You're brave," they told her. "You say the stuff we're scared to say." Even little Layla, only 5 years old, would proudly tell people, "We sat in the fancy seats on the airplane. My mommy said we belong anywhere." That sentence stuck with Jordan the most. We belong anywhere. He thought about how far they had come. From being told to move, to being invited to speak. From whispers behind their backs, to people listening to their words. From trying to stay invisible, to becoming impossible to ignore. Then one evening, as they gathered for dinner, Maya pulled out an envelope. "What's that?" Jordan asked. "Something that came in the mail today." He opened it slowly, unsure what to expect. Inside was a letter, handwritten, neatly folded. He read silently, eyebrows lifting. "Dear Mr. and Mrs. Williams," it began. "My name is Margaret. I was the woman on your flight, the one who refused to sit beside you." Jordan froze. Maya's face tightened. Zoe looked up, confused. "You kept it?" he asked. "I almost threw it out," she admitted. "But something told me, just read it." He did. The letter continued, "I don't know how to apologize for something so shameful. I've spent a lot of time thinking about what I did that day. I blamed the airline. I blamed society. But really, I need to own it. I saw your family, and instead of seeing love and dignity, I saw difference. And I was wrong." Jordan's voice faltered as he kept reading. "That moment exposed a part of myself I didn't want to admit existed. But because of you, because of how you responded, I've started doing the work. I've joined a community group. I've listened to stories I used to ignore. I still have a long way to go. But I wanted to say, thank you. And I'm sorry. I see you now. Truly." Silence fell over the table. Zoe finally whispered, "Is she the mean lady?" Jordan nodded slowly. "Yeah. But Maybe not anymore. Maya exhaled. People can change. Sometimes the hardest part is just seeing the truth about yourself. Zoe looked thoughtful. Can I write her back? Maya smiled. You can. They all could. Weeks later, another story began to circulate. It was a short news piece about a local town in Georgia where a school board had voted to diversify its curriculum. One of the community members who spoke up, a woman named Margaret. People asked her why she cared so much. She answered simply, because I once made a mistake, and someone gave me the chance to grow from it. The reporter asked her what changed her. She didn't name names. She didn't try to seek credit. She just said, I met a family who treated me with more grace than I deserved, and it changed me. Back in their home, the Williams family lived their lives quietly. They didn't chase headlines. They didn't capitalize on fame. But they knew something had shifted. Because of a seat. Because of a voice. Because someone chose courage over silence. One Saturday afternoon, as Jordan grilled in the backyard, Maya brought him lemonade. You remember that flight? She asked. He chuckled. Hard to forget. You ever wonder why it happened to us? He thought for a moment. Maybe it didn't happen to us. Maybe it happened through us. She nodded. I like that. Later, as the sun set, Jordan stood in the doorway watching his daughters chase each other barefoot in the grass. Their laughter echoed through the yard, bright and full of life. He felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. Not because the world was perfect. Not because racism was gone. But because in a moment that could have torn them down, they stood tall. And they made others see it. And that's the real story. Not of confrontation, but of resilience. Not of fame, but of dignity. Not just of what happened on that flight, but what happened after. Because sometimes the most powerful revolutions begin not with shouts, but with a family simply refusing to move.